Hello, and welcome to Astronomy Daily, your premier source for all things space and astronomy. I'm Anna, and I'm thrilled to be your guide through the cosmos today. We have an absolutely packed episode for you, with some truly groundbreaking developments in space exploration and astronomical research. The headlines are buzzing with SpaceX's latest achievement, the historic FRAM-2 mission that has just sent the first ever human spaceflight over Earth's poles. We'll dive into what makes this mission so special and the unique experiments the crew will be conducting as they circle our planet in a way no humans have done before. But that's just the beginning of our cosmic journey today. We'll also explore how SpaceX is ramping up its launch schedule to unprecedented levels, with multiple missions taking off in rapid succession this week alone. Then we'll head to Mars, where NASA's Perseverance rover is conducting fascinating tests on spacesuit materials, giving us crucial data for future human exploration of the red planet. The harsh Martian environment poses unique challenges for astronaut safety, and this research could be key to overcoming them. We'll also check in with NASA astronauts Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams, who recently returned to Earth after what was supposed to be a brief mission turned into a 9-month stay aboard the International Space Station. And finally, we'll explore new research suggesting something truly mind-bending, that dark matter could actually be affecting planetary rotation, potentially making planets spin faster. This could have profound implications for how we understand our own Earth and distant exoplanets. So strap in for a journey across our solar system and beyond as we explore the latest and most fascinating developments in space science and astronomy. Let's kick things off with today's big story. SpaceX has made history with the first ever human spaceflight to circle Earth over its poles. The private FRAM-2 mission lifted off from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida on March 31st at 9:46 p.m. Eastern Time, carrying 4 space travelers into a unique polar orbit that no human has experienced before. The crew launched aboard the Crew Dragon capsule Resilience, which has now completed its 4th space mission after previously supporting Crew 1, Inspiration 4, and Polaris Dawn. Falcon 9 booster B-1085 powered the launch for its 6th flight, before successfully landing on SpaceX's drone ship, a shortfall of Gravitas, in the Atlantic Ocean. This groundbreaking mission is commanded by Chun Wang of Malta, who is joined by an international team including Vehicle Commander Jannike Mikkelsen from Norway, pilot Rabea Roga of Germany, and Australian medical officer and mission specialist Eric Phillips. All 4 are first-time space travelers, making this journey even more remarkable. After reaching orbit, SpaceX's Bill Gerstenmaier radioed the crew, saying, "Dragon, on behalf of the Falcon team, we're honored to deliver you safely to your polar orbit. Enjoy the views of the poles. Send us some pictures, and our hearts and minds will be flying with you as you go over the poles." The mission is named after the famous Norwegian exploration ship Fram, which ventured into both Arctic and Antarctic regions in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Fram translates to forward or onward in Norwegian, a fitting name for this pioneering spaceflight that carries the same spirit of exploration into Earth orbit. During their 3 to 5 days in space, the crew will conduct 22 scientific experiments that leverage their unique orbital path. These include the first ever attempt to grow mushrooms in the microgravity environment of space and operating a machine that will capture the first X-ray images of the human body while in orbit. Additional studies will investigate how spaceflight and microgravity affect the human musculoskeletal system. FRAM-2 represents SpaceX's 17th human spaceflight overall and its 6th private crewed mission. What makes this launch particularly notable is that it came just 17 days after SpaceX's previous astronaut launch Crew 10 to the International Space Station, marking the shortest interval between SpaceX crewed missions to date. Upon completion of their orbital journey, the FRAM-2 crew will make history again with the first Pacific Ocean splashdown for a SpaceX crewed mission. Previous Dragon capsules have all landed in the Atlantic off Florida's coast, but the company is shifting returns to the West Coast to minimize risk to people and property during re-entry. In one final research opportunity, the crew will forego the typical medical assistance normally provided to astronauts returning from space, allowing scientists to study how their bodies readapt to Earth's gravity without intervention, valuable data for future space exploration missions. Speaking of launches, let's turn our attention now to this week's schedule. It's been an exceptionally busy period for SpaceX, with this week alone featuring 5 planned Falcon 9 launches. The company's impressive cadence kicked off with the Starlink Group 6, 80 mission from Cape Canaveral, which lifted off just hours before the historic FRAM-2 flight. This Starlink deployment carried a record 28 of SpaceX's upgraded V2 mini-optimized satellites to orbit, marking the first time these enhanced satellites have launched from the East Coast. The rapid-fire succession of launches showcases SpaceX's growing operational capability. Just consider that the booster used for the Starlink 6, 80 mission was making its 17th flight after a turnaround of only 41 days, numbers that would have seemed impossible just a few years ago. Looking ahead through the week, SpaceX has scheduled 3 more Starlink missions. On April 1st, Falcon 9 is set to launch Starlink Group 11, 13 from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California, followed by 2 additional deployments, Starlink Group 11, 11 on April 4th, and Starlink Group 6, 72 on April 6th, from opposite coasts of the United States. The timing between the FRAM-2 crewed mission and the previous Crew 10 launch to the International Space Station set a new record for SpaceX, with just 2 weeks and 3 days separating these human spaceflights. This compressed timeline demonstrates the maturity of SpaceX's human spaceflight program and the reliability of their Falcon 9 and Dragon systems. While SpaceX dominates the launch schedule this week, they're not alone in reaching for orbit. China also has 2 launches planned, with their Changzheng 2D rocket scheduled to lift off on April 1st, followed by what might be one of the final flights of the Changzheng 6 rocket later in the week from the Taiyuan Satellite Launch Center. The increasing frequency of SpaceX launches has become almost routine, but it represents a fundamental shift in space access. Just a decade ago, achieving this many orbital launches across an entire year would have been considered remarkable for a single company. Now, SpaceX is demonstrating the capability to achieve that in a single week, while simultaneously conducting historic human spaceflight missions and expanding their global satellite internet constellation. This operational tempo not only serves SpaceX's commercial interests, but also provides crucial experience for NASA's future crewed missions and demonstrates the kind of launch cadence that will be necessary as humanity expands its presence beyond Earth. Let's go to Mars now for an update. This is fascinating. While the Perseverance rover's primary mission on Mars focuses on searching for signs of ancient microbial life, it's also quietly conducting crucial research that could directly impact the safety of future human explorers. For the past 4 years, the rover has been exposing small swatches of spacesuit materials to the harsh Martian environment in what amounts to the ultimate real-world test. These material samples, each measuring just 3/4 of an inch square, are attached to a calibration target for the rover's Sherlock instrument. The selection includes pieces that would be integral to any Mars astronaut's protective gear: a polycarbonate helmet visor, Vectrin used in glove palms for cut resistance, 2 variations of Teflon with dust-repelling properties, and a complex material called orthofabric. The orthofabric is particularly interesting as it combines multiple protective layers: Nomex for flame resistance like firefighter gear, breathable Gore-Tex, and Kevlar for tear resistance similar to what's used in bulletproof vests. Together, these materials represent the building blocks of what future Martian explorers might wear. Mars presents an extremely hostile environment for both humans and their equipment. Unlike Earth, with its protective magnetic field that deflects much of the sun's radiation, Mars lost its magnetic shield billions of years ago, along with most of its atmosphere. This leaves the surface exposed to intense ultraviolet radiation that can rapidly degrade materials. Add to this the planet's freezing temperatures, fine dust particles that can infiltrate mechanisms, and corrosive perchlorites, toxic salts that permeate the Martian soil, and you have an environment engineered to break down almost anything we might send there. Mark Fries of NASA's Johnson Space Center explains the forward-thinking nature of this experiment. This is one of the forward-looking aspects of the rover's mission, not just thinking about its current science, but also about what comes next. We're preparing for people to eventually go and explore Mars. The data being collected is particularly valuable because it shows how quickly different materials degrade. Remarkably, about half of all the changes observed in the samples occurred within just the first 200 days on Mars, with Vectrin appearing to deteriorate most rapidly. This gives engineers crucial information about how frequently spacesuits might need replacement or repair during extended missions. Scientists are especially concerned about maintaining flexibility and tear resistance in spacesuit materials. As Sherlock team member Joby Razel Hollis notes, Mars is a really harsh, tough place. The radiation in particular is pretty nasty. When these materials degrade, they can become brittle, similar to how white plastic lawn furniture yellows and cracks after years in sunlight, but likely happening much faster on Mars. The research team is now preparing to publish their findings, while scientists at NASA Johnson are developing Earth-based simulations that can replicate Martian conditions. They plan to subject identical materials to simulated Martian carbon dioxide atmospheres, air pressure, and ultraviolet light, then stress test them to determine how much structural integrity they've lost. The fabric materials are designed to be tough but flexible, Freeze explains. We want to know the extent to which they lose their strength and flexibility over time. As fabrics weaken, they can fray and tear, allowing a spacesuit to leak both heat and air, a potentially fatal situation for any Mars explorer. This research represents a critical step in preparing for human exploration of the Red Planet, demonstrating how current robotic missions are directly enabling future human missions by solving practical challenges before astronauts ever set foot on Martian soil. Well, we finally got to see Butch and Suni addressing the world today in their first sit-down TV interview since returning home. After 9 months aboard the International Space Station, 278 days longer than planned, NASA astronauts Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams have finally returned to Earth. What began as a routine 8-day test flight of Boeing's Starliner spacecraft transformed into one of the most dramatic extended stays in space history, turning them into household names in the process. The veteran astronauts splashed down off Florida's coast 2 weeks ago, not in the Boeing capsule that carried them up, but in a SpaceX Dragon that came to their rescue. Their unprecedented mission extension came after Starliner experienced multiple technical issues during its June 2023 launch, including thruster failures and helium leaks that raised serious safety concerns about the capsule's return capability. In their first news conference since returning home, both astronauts displayed remarkable composure and professionalism despite their ordeal. "I'll start and point the finger, and I'll blame me," Wilmore told reporters, sharing responsibility for the mission's issues. "I could have asked some questions, and the answers to those questions could have turned the tide, all the way up and down the chain. We all are responsible. We all own this." The saga took on additional dimensions when President Trump publicly urged SpaceX's Elon Musk to accelerate the rescue mission, adding political pressure to an already complicated situation. Meanwhile, NASA engineers and Boeing officials spent months deliberating the safest course of action before ultimately determining that Starliner was too risky to bring the astronauts home. Despite everything they experienced, both Wilmore and Williams expressed continued confidence in Boeing's spacecraft. When asked if they would fly on Starliner again, Williams responded emphatically, "We're all in." She added that the vehicle has a lot of capability, and she wants to see it succeed. Wilmore echoed this sentiment, saying he'd return in a heartbeat because "we're going to rectify all the issues that we encountered. We're going to fix them. We're going to make it work." The pair is scheduled to meet with Boeing leadership this week to provide detailed feedback on their flight experience. Wilmore emphasized that the meeting is not for pointing fingers, but rather to make the path clearer going forward. Both astronauts have been adjusting well to life back on Earth. Williams waited until she was steadier on her feet before reuniting with her 2 Labrador retrievers the day after splashdown, describing the moment as pure joy. Wilmore, meanwhile, has already received his first terrestrial assignment from his wife, replacing all the shrubs in their yard before summer. NASA engineers still don't fully understand what caused Starliner's thruster malfunctions, with more testing planned through summer. The space agency may require another uncrewed test flight before allowing astronauts aboard again, but that potential redo could happen by year's end. Despite Starliner's troubled development, NASA officials maintained that their strategy of having 2 competing U.S. companies providing space station transportation remains sound. However, with the International Space Station scheduled for retirement in just 5 years, the window for Boeing to establish Starliner as a reliable crew transport is rapidly closing. Finally today, a dark matter update. Dark matter remains one of the most enigmatic components of our universe. Making up approximately 85% of all matter, it's practically invisible, detectable only through its gravitational effects. But new research suggests we might have another way to observe its presence, through its influence on planetary rotation. Scientists from the Xinjiang Astronomical Observatory at the Chinese Academy of Sciences have published intriguing findings suggesting that dark matter could actually make planets spin faster. Their paper, aptly titled "Dark Matter Spins the Planet," proposes that planets act as natural dark matter collectors, gradually accumulating these mysterious particles over billions of years. When dark matter particles enter a planet, they don't interact with normal matter in conventional ways. Instead, through quantum effects like tunneling, they can deposit energy into the planet's interior. This energy transfer manifests in two ways: heating the planet and accelerating its rotation. The researchers simulated this dark matter capture process in 15 confirmed exoplanets, including notable examples like 55 Cancri d, also known as Lippershey, and Epsilon Eridani b. They also applied their model to more familiar worlds like Jupiter and our own Earth. For Earth specifically, their calculations predict some measurable effects. Dark matter heating combined with solar energy could increase Earth's surface atmospheric temperature by approximately 0.015 Kelvin over 100 years and 0.15 Kelvin over a millennium. More dramatically, Earth's rotation period could decrease by about 12 seconds over the next century, and potentially 120 seconds over 1,000 years. These might sound like small changes, but they're significant enough that we should be able to detect them with current ground-based measurement methods. This provides astronomers with a potential new avenue for confirming dark matter's existence and properties. The implications extend beyond pure physics. The team suggests that dark matter interactions might play a role in planetary habitability. By altering thermal conditions within planets, dark matter could affect the stability of liquid water and influence atmospheric evolution, key factors in determining whether a world can support life. Despite the theoretical nature of this work, it represents an innovative approach to the dark matter puzzle. Rather than focusing solely on microscopic particle physics or cosmic scale observations, these researchers are looking at planetary scale effects that accumulate over long time periods. Dark matter candidates range from weakly interacting massive particles, WIMPs, to axions to primordial black holes. If any of these particles are indeed captured by planets, the energy released when they annihilate each other could contribute to the heating and rotational effects described in the study. As the authors note, this research could prove especially valuable as humanity continues searching for potentially habitable worlds beyond our solar system. Understanding how dark matter influences planetary conditions might help us better assess which exoplanets could support life, adding yet another factor to consider in our quest to find a second home among the stars. That wraps up today's journey through the cosmos. From SpaceX's groundbreaking polar mission to the intriguing effects of dark matter on planetary rotation, we've covered some truly fascinating developments in space exploration and astronomy. I'm Anna, your guide to the stars here at Astronomy Daily, and it's been my absolute pleasure sharing these stories with you. Space science moves at an incredible pace, and there's always something new to discover together. If you're hungry for more space news between our episodes, I've got you covered. Head over to astronomydaily.io, where our constantly updating newsfeed brings you the latest happenings in space and astronomy as they unfold. You'll also find our complete episode archive there, perfect for catching up on anything you might have missed. The conversation doesn't end when our episodes do. Join our community of space enthusiasts on social media by searching for Astro Daily Pod. You'll find us on X, Facebook, YouTube Music, Instagram, and TikTok. Share your thoughts, questions, and astronomical observations with us. We love hearing from fellow cosmic explorers. Until next time, keep looking up at those stars. The universe is vast and mysterious, but together we're understanding more of it every day. This is Anna, signing off from Astronomy Daily, where we believe the sky is just the beginning.